Hello, welcome to BPL's 12th season, the 5th week of the 12th season. We are in Tacky Uncutter Division, as I have explained multiple times. It is D2B of the league's 6-division structure. We are in the middle division. It is like I said, 2B. There's 2A and 2B, and we're in 2B. There's no real difference between the divisions in terms of skill level or anything. They're just both the mid divisions. Our opponent this week is Tark. He is undefeated going into week 5, and we are currently 2-2. He has +9 differential. We have +4. So we do have our work cut out for us this week. I do think this is a winnable matchup for sure. Iron Valiant and Mega Sceptile are horrific threats into my team in terms of speed. Sceptile obviously getting ahead of everything, and Valiant being Valiant. Scizor is a dead stop for my Diancie this week. And Gliscor is a potential pain in the ass. Rotom Wash I can only hit with Shaman. And Hisuian Quillfish has a good matchup into my physical attackers, Quaquaval and Weavile. So I do think we could see an Eviolite set come from that. And then, like I said before, Mega Sceptile is fast and strong. Victini as a Terra Captain is also a horrifying fucking creature. I do not like that thing. I do not like fighting it. I want to draft it, but I also hate its speed stat. But Ariados probably isn't coming. I saw it had Smart Strike, so I could try to do some shenanigans with Focus Sash against Diancie, but I don't think that's going to happen. Without further ado, let's get into what I am expecting to see from my opponent. Just right off the bat, I do think Scizor and Victini are must-brings. You absolutely want to bring Bullet Punch against my Mega Diancie. Like, there is no question about it. Weavile, too, right? Like, both of them, like, very viable options to bring Bullet Punch for. And then I think U-turning, knocking, or close combating. He could bring Roost, too. But you do need Occaberry just to be able to, like, deal with Diancie having Mystical Fire, because you do die to it otherwise. AV is possible, but you need some way to guarantee that the Diancie doesn't have Mystical Fire. But I do think this is a must-bring. He would be foolish not to bring it. Max Special Defense if you need to. Max Attack doesn't really make a difference. Occaberry will help you survive one hit, so long as I don't have, like, a Calm Mind up or something. But you have Bullet Punch, so you don't really give a shit about Calm Mind to begin with. Next up on the list is Victini. I do think Terra Electric is reasonable. Terra Psychic and Fire are also plausible. He seems to really, really enjoy his Terra Fire Scarf V creates, and I wouldn't put it past him to run it. But I do think a Psychic or a special set is slightly stronger into my team just because of the fact that I have, like, pretty good Fire switch-ins and, like, Pecharunt as a physical option. Like, if I turn this into Dragon type, you can't really touch it with Victini if you're a physical set. So it's a little iffy, which is why I do think we will see a special set, probably. Doesn't have to, might just go with the physical set anyways. There's no real telling for sure. But Scarf is what I am expecting. I do expect an Adamant one. It could also be Jolly if you're really paranoid about max speed Shaman, but it's unlikely. You only need to be Adamant in order to get ahead of things. It might just be max speed, because max speed would put it ahead of... well, actually, I guess that really doesn't do anything. If you want to be ahead of max speed Pecharunt or Moltres after a V-Create drop, then you will need to be Jolly, but otherwise you can pretty much safely go Adamant if you don't expect me to be running max speed on those two mons, but I don't know why I would in this matchup outside of Terapagos, which is also 85 base speed. I think if this Terapagos is speed invested, it'll definitely be running Boots, just for keeping the Terra Shell intact, but 204 speed is what it needs to get ahead of Weavile at +1, so I do think that would be a reasonable bring into my team. Otherwise, he might just go full bulk. There's no telling for sure whether it'll be bulky or speedy Terapagos. It could also be max speed to tie with my Quaquaval. It's really hard to guess what this thing's EVs could be, but this is just like a plausible set that I would probably run, right? Rapid Spin, obviously, to remove hazards. I do think that's his best form of hazard removal against me, because Earth Power does hit Petrant very hard, and or forces it to Terra. Terra Starstorm obviously just hits my entire team really hard, and then I think it could be like Ice Beam or T-Bolt, or like it could just have Calm Mind. It could also have Roar. He's run Roar Terapagos a couple times. There's no telling exactly what this thing's moveset is going to be, but I do expect these three moves. I do expect these three moves more than any other. Iron Valiant, I'm not super afraid of a physical set. If it wants to be plus speed, it has a lot of leeway against me, but it has to cap out at 352 no matter what, just because it needs to be faster than Diancie. It can run Vacuum Wave to deal with Weavile, because it does survive Ice Shards very, very easily in comparison to Mega Sceptile. But I do think the predicted moveset is going to be like Moonblast, T-Bolt, Aura Sphere, and maybe, like, if it wants to run a physical set, like, it's gonna have, like, Liquidation? I don't know, for Diancie? Like, it could also be Calm Mind. I think Calm Mind is, like, kind of iffy against my team. You don't really want to set up, because Moltres does match up really well into it. But, like, I really didn't know whether this thing was going to be physical or special or whatnot, but I knew it was probably going to at least have one fairy move and one fighting move, regardless of if that fighting move is Vac Wave, or Sphere, Focus Blast, or CC, right? And then for fairy physical moves, it only has Spirit Break, which is kind of nice, but Spirit Break is a bit of a pain in the ass of a move. So, there is that to consider. I do think it will be Booster Energy Speed. I have prepared for if it's Booster Energy anything else, but Booster Energy Speed is a bit of a problem because I can't get ahead of it with any of my Pokemon that normally get to +1 outside of Weavile, who isn't getting to +1 against this thing, unless I wanted to run a Scarf. Next up are just kind of the variable slots. I'm really not sure what the last two Mons can be. It can legitimately be anything from Quillfish to Mega Sceptile to Rotom Wash to Gliscor. Like, any two of these Mons fits really well. The only exception, I think, being, like, that would be bad would be, like, Quillfish and Rotom Wash. I don't think you would want to put those two together, because, like, they kind of do the same thing. Both switch into Weavile and Quaquaval pretty well. Rotom Wash obviously switches in better to Moltres, but I couldn't be 100% certain that any of those two would come, so I kind of had to just broadly prep for them all. I do think it'll be a pretty basic Gliscor set. I have spikes on here. It could be Stealth Rocks. It could just be a setup set with like 3 moves and Swords Dance. And he could run spikes on Quillfish instead. Sceptile, I kind of don't know exactly what it could be. Like I said, he could be physical too. I've seen him run it. This thing does have Rock Slide for Moltres, and it otherwise gets hard walled by Moltres. So I think that would be reasonable to expect. It could also have HP Rock, but that just seems unreasonable given what moves it's working with. I think it needs Vac Wave if you're bringing it, because you have to be worried about Weavile Ice Shard, and you want to out-prioritize it with your higher speed. This is all the speed you need. You can go full into Adamant or full into Modest like this, and then you have a few points left over for HP or Bulk or wherever you want to throw that. I don't particularly think he's going to be running Leaf Storm. I think Leaf Storm would be better against me, but he has shown a tendency to avoid using Leaf Storm in favor of Energy Ball, so I'm prepping with that in mind. Though I don't really give a shit about any Leaf Storm or Energy Ball anyways, just because my switch-ins for it are Moltres and Petra, and both take those attacks very, very well. And Shaman also doesn't give a shit about Leaf Storm, but like, moving on, like, Quillfish could be like, Quillfish, if Quillfish comes, it's going to be very physically defensive with Intimidate, Eviolite, Spikes, Barbarage, Haze, maybe, and Taunt. Maybe not Taunt. I don't know what the final move would be there. I think Taunt would be smart, but I don't know if that's what he's thinking. And then the last Mon on his team is Rotom Wash, which, again, physically defensive for, like, Weavile, Quaquaval, and it just naturally kind of walls Empoleon, so yeah, it's really, really hard to say what he's gonna bring. I don't think Ariados comes. I still prepped for it in mind anyways, but I didn't do that much. Like, prepping for Ariados didn't change my prep for the rest of his team. Anyways, let's get into what I'm bringing. Which for this week is a substitute Diancie with an interesting EV spread. I have just enough speed to outspeed a booster special attack Iron Valiant and get ahead of what's his face, Victini, all the same. I get ahead of max speed Victini, so if it V-creates, I will be faster than it after its Scarf bonus and -1. And I am just barely faster than Iron Valiant if it wants to go plus special attack on its booster energy, which, once again, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you're better off going plus speed into me, but there's no real telling for sure what he's going to do. Moonblast, Earth Power, Mystical Fire hits basically everything I need it to on his team. I don't see a reason to bring a rock move this week, because like if Victini's Terra Electric, like I assume it's going to be, because you don't really threaten Moltres perfectly with Terra Fire, but I am also especially defensive Moltres this week with no heavy duty boots. We're going leftovers, no roost. We are Toxic Stall with Whirlwind Moltres. Mystical Fire reduces the damage from Rotom ever so slightly, and he doesn't really have a good Mystical Fire switch-in, especially if he's Special Victini. The only switch-ins I could anticipate him having into this are Gliscor and, like I said before, Rotom Wash, or Terra Electric Victini. Which Terra Electric Physical Victini with Bolt Strike is going to fuck me up, and Terra Fire V-Create would still be a bit of an issue. But I do have the investment to deal with any and all special threats he wants to throw at my team, and we are just going to try to keep the hazards off at all costs with our Terra Steel Whirlpool Quaquavel with leftovers. We have Rapid Spin, Flip Turn, Close Combat. Our goal is to bait in this thing's goal is to kind of bait in the Quillfish, trap it with Whirlpool, and then, like, prevent hazards from being set up, or limit the hazards to, like, 1, right? If we lose Quack for Quillfish, that's, like, okay, because then it opens up our Terrifier, Hex, Nasty Plot, Weakness Policy, Malignant Chain, Petulant, for sweeping potential, wall breaking potential. Technically, we're not really sweeping with this, but it does match up against a great number of Pokemon on his team. Hex with +2 Hex actually always guarantees the kill on the Gliscors I was looking at. I might be thinking of a +4 Hex, but like regardless, +4 Hex absolutely obliterates a poisoned Gliscor if it comes, and it triggers the weakness policy with its knockoff or Scissor's knockoff. And we have investment to not get 2-hit KO'd by a max special attack modest Terapagos' Earth Power most of the time. The last two members of the team are Shaman, which has Seed Flare, Leech Seed, Aromatherapy, and HP Ice for both Gliscor and what's-his-face? Mega Sceptile. That way it can provide a threat against Mega Sceptile while still being threatening to most else on the team, excluding Victini. Kind of an issue-ish, problematic matchup there with Victini, but there wasn't really much I could do besides run Earth Power, and I didn't feel like I had the room for Earth Power. Aromatherapy I'm running just in case, like, I get poisoned by Barbarage, or, like, paralyzed by Rotom with T-Waves, or Will-O-Wisp, or Will-O-Wisp for Victini. Like, there's a lot of places where I could get statused, and I think Aromatherapy slotted in well, especially after the past 2 weeks, like, partially losing to hacks. Well, at least week 3 I lost because I got paralyzed, but like I just didn't feel comfortable going into this game without it. Our Shaman is very specially defensive this week in preparation for not fire moves from Victini, moves from Mega Sceptile, most moves, and the fact that the physical mons that can threaten it for super effective are just way too threatening. Like Terapagos, we can Leech Seed it, Valiant, we can Leech Seed it, or Seed Flare it, and then Rotom Wash, we take hits from fine with the special defense. This is our Rotom pivot. Natural Cure is great for warding off the statuses. And the final member of our team is, as you may have guessed, Tinglu, especially defensive investment. But this time we got Resto Chesto, because I fully expect to get blasted by the Rotom a couple times with Hydro Pumps. Our goal here is to set up Stealth Rocks, rest off the damage so we're at full HP, and then get the hell out of there. If we can ruinate something on switch-in, that's great too. But this thing's not here to take kills. It's here to set rocks, have Terapagos' HP maybe, and just, like, not die so quickly. Like, if it needs to die, hopefully I can get something in, right? But, yeah, our team this week, I do feel very confident about. Whirlpool works for a variety of threats, and at +1 with Terra Steel, I resist most things that can be thrown at me. I don't necessarily plan on terrestrializing Petra unless everything goes smoothly at the beginning, and it's alive late game for Valiant, if Valiant starts setting up on me or some shit. So, yeah. Because I don't want to Terra Fire this if, like, rocks are up, right? And then I just take super effective from rocks on Stealth Rocks. Terra Steel here works much, much better because we're not boots, and if spikes go up, then, like, we're still taking the same damage anyways. But if rocks go up, we're still resisting them, while still being pretty favorable against Iron Valiant. At +1 speed, we should outspeed it, so long as we can pop the booster energy with Whirlwind on one of these mons. But yeah, with that all said and done, as you can see, I've got these standings right here that we can look at after the match. And without further ado, let's get into it. I know I keep saying without further ado, but, like, I don't know, it's just one of those things that's like, I need to hurry up and stop speaking, because, like, I need to make sure these videos aren't excessively long. Anyways, the matchup we're looking at is not exactly one I envisioned, because there is no Scizor! There's no Scizor! Where's the Scizor? What? Like, what the? I looked at this matchup when I popped into it, and I was like, where is the Scizor? Like, huh? You don't have Bullet Punch. That's why I'm running Substitute Diancie, you know? That's why I have Mystical Fire. What are you, like, what? No Scizor is so crazy. But Sceptile is kind of expected. Gliscor is great to see, because this is, like, kind of the mon I built my weakness policy around. And it is Terra Fire Victini, not Terra Electric. Terapagos, Iron Valiant were shoo-ins for this matchup, pretty much. And then Rotom Wash is the last one. There's no Quillfish either, which means Petra is free to both lead and to try to set up and just punch a hole through the opponent's team with. But yeah, I love the way this matchup looks. I love that he didn't bring Scizor. I love that he didn't bring Quillfish, because it just allows both Quaquaval and Petrarunt to do their jobs without any real deterrence. So, let's get the hunt started, why don't we? Like I said, I am going to lead Petrarunt here. He leads Gliscor, which is great for me. I'm going to set up nasty plots and just try to abuse the hell out of my weakness policy here. I get the knockoff into me, and that triggers it. So I'm going to Malignant Chain just in case he didn't keep Gliscor in, but that's beautiful. That's a beautiful start. Followed by a nasty crit to lower me below half health. And unfortunately, I clicked Malignant Chain to pick up the kill on Gliscor. The correct decision on that turn was always to recover, because if he switches Gliscor out, I'm still, like, at full health and could take hits from anything he wants to throw at me. And if he keeps Gliscor in, like, I'm still going back to full HP from the Earthquake, barring the crit, which would have still put me back at 80%, and then I just recover again to get back to full. Hex at this point will always outcode Gliscor, so I have no reason to not just go for that. And unfortunately, he is going to come in with Sceptile and pick me off, making Petrarunt go down way earlier than I would have liked. But that is on me. That crit could have been mitigated with a Recover. Recover was always the correct play there, and I did make the misplay. So in comes Shaman, because I can't put Moltres in due to the rocks. I am going to click HP Ice, because if it's underestimating my Shaman whatsoever, at least I'll kill the Sceptile. He does respect the HP Ice and gets Victinity in for free, which does suck for me, because now I have to go out into Tinglu, expecting either a V-Create or a U-Turn. And Fortunately, he Terra Fires. I don't really know why. Now you don't resist fighting, and you're still weak to Dark if I have knockoff on anything. But, like, fortunately, we only take a little bit of damage from the U-turn. And in comes Rotom. I did a quick calc here. I saw that I always survive 2 Hydro Pumps, so I am going to set my rocks up and then rest to get my health back. And then switch out to get Shaman in, because Shaman is my safe pivoted to Rotom. If he wants to Volt Switch on Shaman, that's fine. But in comes Shaman. He misses a Hydro Pump, only would have done about 11 damage. Not really the worst Hydro Pump you could have missed. You could have missed on Ting Lu, right? I Leech Seed just because I don't really have a better option. I don't want to Seed Flare and kill the Rotom yet. And in comes Terapagos. I could have Leech Seeded here, but I felt as though it was slightly better to go out into Ting Lu and just go for a Ruination or something. If it wants to set up Calm Minds, right, Shaman isn't going to help there super badly. So I do get the Ruination off. I am going to set up more rocks to try to bait it into using another Rapid Spin so I can get Quaquaval in. I do survive most of any 2 hits from this thing, so long as it's not 2 Terra Star Storms. And I'm going to go for a CC here without Terrestrializing. He read that I was going to Terra, because I am Terra Steel, like I said earlier. And fortunately, we are going to take out the Terapagos without much of a problem. What is slightly unfortunate is this Victini is always faster than me. And it can come in and V-Create here for free. So that does suck. We are going to switch out, and Ting Lu has absolutely done its job at this point, so I am comfortable losing it. Quaquaval coming back in here, because I feel as though we should be okay to threaten this thing with something, right? And I'm just going to click Rapid Spin to get my rocks off, expecting a switch out into Rotom. Perhaps not the correct play. I could have gotten Diancie in there, but hey, I wanted Quack. I wanted to remove hazards. We Rapid Spin again, because I don't want too much chip on this Rotom still, and I still want to be faster than the Sceptile. And I am faster than the Sceptile, but it is running Vac Wave for Weavile, which also applies to Quavel after Terra Steel, which kind of sucks for me, but oh well. I didn't get the close combat damage I wanted off, but it is still Sceptile in. He has to respect the Moltres with no rocks on the field anymore. I always Toxic, because that was the plan from the very beginning, and we are going to protect, stall out this Rotom. The reason I haven't killed this Rotom is the same as the reason I hadn't killed Rotom in Week 9, when I used Maractus against it. I want it alive. I abuse it very well with my team. I am going to Whirlwind. I assume he saw that I was Whirlwinding, because he knew he wasn't very fast in the Rotom, and decided to go into this instead of, like, something else, and he just wanting to get Victini in, right? Here I'm always protecting to scout out what it wants to do. It does have Bolt Strike. I expected this as much when I saw it was physical from the initial U-turn. And I'm going into Shaman because it's the safest bet I've got. He doesn't have a shift. He goes out into Iron Valiant. He doesn't actually have a switch in that, like, properly handles this. Predicting just a Victini or something, I'm going into a Leech Seed to get some health back and start walling this thing better. I'm going to read him going out into Victini to get rid of the Leech Seed here, and I'm going to get more health back, because why not? I read a U-turn and click Seed Flare, expecting the Iron Valiant to come in. And he does realize, he does reveal now that this is a mixed Valiant set. I'm going to HP Ice there, just in case the Sceptile came in, but HP Ice does always secure the kill there, no matter what. And if Victini came in anyways, V-Create, or Seed Flare wouldn't do much to it. I didn't want to miss the Seed Flare on Valiant. I thought about Leech Seeding to get my health back, just a teeny bit of health back, but I ultimately determined it didn't really matter. I was taking a while to make my decisions in-game, and I figured out HP Ice is just the absolute correct play to make there. In comes Victini, as one would expect. I am going to read this thing clicking U-turn instead of V-Create. It does 2-hit KO me with V-Create there, and it outspeeds me. Which is insane, and at this point he realizes he's getting the shit right out of him, turns on timer. It's just hilarious to me, because I do deserve the timer being turned on. I was making my decisions very slowly. But I've also secured my win con at this point. Not secured my win con, but I've identified my win con. I need the Victini to V-Create into my Shaman in order to get Diancie to set up a substitute on it. So from this point onwards, we are proceeding with our decisions with that in mind. He clicks Volt Switch, which, I mean, like, that can mean anything. And I'm going to Mystical Fire just in case he does it again or switches into Victini for chip. He does Volt Switch again anyways, and goes into Victini. So I don't necessarily want Moltres dead because I still need it for Sceptile. I'm going to scout out what he's doing with this just in case it's Bolt Strike. Because if it's Bolt Strike, I'm going into, like, I still need Shaman dead, but I don't want to switch Shaman into a Bolt Strike because that just means it's Bolt Striking Diancie too. And I don't want to get parried. But seeing as it's V-Create, we found our win con, and we are absolutely switching Shaman in. You've done a fantastic job, Shaman. Let's seal it from here. We get the switch read on the V-Create to get the sub up. Now, fortunately, no matter what Pokemon he switched into it, if he had V-Created there, he probably would have won the game. But unfortunately, I'm the better player. And I substitute on his switch out. I didn't Mega Evolve just in case he kept going for the V-Create. I would have at least lived and been able to get off the sub. But yeah, we are good to go here. We are going to Moonblast this. It didn't matter what he switched in, because if it was Sceptile, it's Sceptile versus a sub. I can Moonblast, and that is guaranteed Oko. And if it's Rotom, I'm faster, and it's way too low on health to be taking anything from Diancie. So I am just going to Moonblast this, get my kill. In comes Sceptile, because he has to break the sub. I'm worried about Bullet Seed here. He Leaf Storms. He doesn't have Energy Ball, which is interesting to me. I'm like, okay, that's cool. As you can see, it took me a bit to make my decision here, because I was calculating one last play, and that's if this Adamant, Choice Scarf, Terrafire V-Create kills my Diancie. And there is, in fact, one roll in the 16 possible damage values that can kill my Mega Diancie at this percent. And he doesn't get it. So we are going to take that final kill, 3 kills for Diancie with Earth Power. And we are going to end our 2-week losing streak with a 2-0 win. Putting us... We are 3-2 at the end of week 5. We are currently 4th seed. Our next 4 opponents are a little threatening. But we have ended our losing streak. So that's fantastic. 3-2 at +6 is a great place to be at the end of week 5. Because there is an 11-way tie for 6th. How does that happen? It's only broken up by differential. You can see there's a 4-way tie down here, a 2-way tie right here, a 2-way tie right here, and another 2-way tie right here. There are 11 people tied for 6th. This division has been insane to spectate. Like, this is the closest division out of any of the 6, I'm telling you. It's ridiculous. And it stays this ridiculous throughout the remainder of the season. Like, it's actually insanity how crazy this division was throughout the season. Like, it's just, it was incredible to watch, if not to play. Like, I don't even have words for this. I can't even explain this to you, you know? Like, this is just ridiculous. But, 2-0 win is it's just a great way to clinch up, not clinch playoffs, but like, just to break the streak, right? Like, we were having a poop-ass season, it was flopping, right? We were flopping, but we're doing great now, kind of. Like, it's 3-2, it's better than 2-2, you know? Like, I don't really have words for this. This is just bizarre, dude. This is not correct. This is weird. But yeah, we played pretty damn well. And, with that all out of the way, we, only have our week 6 to play next week. I mean, I don't really know exactly what to say. It's, I'm happy as hell about the win, you know, like, Moltres did great, Petrant could have done better, just unfortunate crit and me misplaying. Tinglu absolutely did its job. Shaman and Moltres, hell, dings the fuck down against these 4. Like, they did fantastically, dude. Moltres absolutely made up for last week where I just didn't put it in. This week, I just had it in the whole time. Like, it did great. Set the ante up perfectly for success. And, yeah, we had a great week this week. I think I played fantastically. Absolute misplay from my opponent not to bring Scizor. But, like, hey, it is what it is. I think Quillfish also would have been great because it does wall Petriment really, really hard. But no Quillfish either allowed me to lead that. And I think it was just a situation where I prepped better than my opponent. I also played better than my opponent, I feel, too. I fucking knocked it out of the park this week. Like, I just had so many good reads. It's hard to, like, say I did anything badly this game. Because, like, sure, obviously I should have recovered turn 2, but, like, outside of that, like, I played fantastically from the position I was in. I don't really have any criticism for myself. I think this was just well played, with my knowledge of my opponent. So, yeah. I will catch you guys around for week 6. And with my lack of words, I bid you farewell and a happy new year. Have a good one.